What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video, and we're back for another Ring of Honor TV review, ROH TV review number 25. Now, if you're here for the review, I'm going to put the timestamp in the description because I do need to talk about some things before we get to the review. Of note, I've been slacking on videos. The only videos I've been making have been ROH TV reviews because the other videos I make, NBA related, we're in the off season. As of like right now, just nothing of note NBA-wise is happening, and obviously I feel I could just put off like some topics and talk about them at a later date. So I've definitely been slacking on the NBA videos, but wrestling videos I've also been slacking on. So WWE, I should have made a video talk about SummerSlam. I didn't. I'd made my predictions video. I don't even think if I did a review I would have like enjoyed it, but it's just like I didn't talk about SummerSlam. Boo-hoo. AEW-wise, this is kind of the more interesting, juicier stuff. All In and All Out are next week. A lot of fans are complaining because the card is everywhere. We don't know who's on the card, and we're a week out. All Out, we know little to... Besides, I believe, a Darby Allin TNT title match, I don't think anything else has been announced about All Out, which I raised concern about months ago, or weeks ago, when this was announced. But... obviously, when All In and All Out are taking place, I'll talk more about them in the coming week, or 2 weeks, I should say. But what I was mainly getting at is, AEW-wise, a lot of the interesting things to talk about are things that we don't see. It is backstage rumors and stuff. So I'm going to go on a small, it's not really a tangent, but a concern that I'm going to bring out there. But long story short, CM Punk is the Collision guy, and this proclaims to Ring of Honor, but Ring of Honor, ever since Collision has started, has been taped after Collision. And CM Punk, again, being the Collision guy, I'm going to keep referring to him as that, has got some guys that he does not want on Collision or involved in with AEW / Ring of Honor on Saturdays. So the landscape of ROH might slightly change because I have no clue how these tapings are going to go because, like I said, some talent won't be involved. And the main reason I am making note of this is because yesterday, after Dynamite and Rampage, they taped some matches for Ring of Honor. And some of the rumor names that were banned from the Saturday show participated in those tapings. So the future of Ring of Honor is not like a dramatic, like, oh my God, what the hell is going to happen thing, but it's just a lot of things are going on in AEW right now. Some good, I would say some bad. So when it comes to Ring of Honor, was there some good, some bad? Let's get into this review and find out. And I'm glad that I did this because the review starts now at the 3-minute mark. So the first matchup was Gringo Loco versus Gravity. Gravity bounce. I'm writing that down that way I don't forget it because I will forget it. There we go. Gravity bounces off the top rope early on for a hurricanrana, followed by an arm drag. Gringo Loco hits a springboard moonsault to the outside, and once back inside the ring, hits a springboard twisting swanton bomb for a 2 count. And don't worry, a lot of crazy stuff happens in this match. Now, this next sequence is going to be confusing, me explaining it, but a visual evidence would have helped. But Gringo Loco is on the outside, opposite of the turnbuckle post. And Gravity runs into the turnbuckle post head first, and then lands on the top rope just to hit the dive to the outside, which, again, was a confusing sequence to see live. And I probably confused you more explaining it there. Gringo Loco hits a running Spanish fly, and then Gravity landed a Canadian Destroyer that had a rough landing. And then Gringo Loco hit a top rope torture rack suplex with Gravity landing belly first for a 2 count. To be fair, it took a long time for Gringo Loco to get the pinfall after that. And then Gravity lands a senton drop off of the second rope, following that with his splash to win the matchup. Like I said, this was probably the best match. I'm not going to say probably. This was the best match of the show. It's not always the best sign when the first match of the show is the best match, but I didn't know that going into the show. But I definitely recommend going out of your way to see the craziness that happened in this match. The next matchup is a pure rules match. Silas Young versus Josh Woods, the battle of the former teammates. Last week, Josh Woods was very frustrated after 2 weeks ago losing his pure title match, and so he wanted to leave the Varsity Athletes Premier. I think that's their name. Trustbusters, Varsity Athletes. It gets all confused because they all come out together. But Mark Sterling's like, give us another chance, and he set up this match with his former teammate in Ring of Honor and Silas Young. We get wrist locks to start the match off, but Josh uses his first rope break when Silas pushes him into the rope, and then he grabs the rope while Silas is still holding him, and that really pissed him off. And then Josh attempts a Chaos Theory, but it is reversed by Silas by a roll-up. Josh then follows this up by targeting the arm of Silas, and Josh uses a closed fist, following this up with a suplex into the corner to win this matchup. And I will say this. I've watched a lot of Silas Young matches. This might be the only time of note where he was cheered more than his opponent was. So the crowd was not behind Josh Woods at all. They were behind Silas Young, but that did not help him win the match because Josh Woods won the matchup. We get a backstage segment with Maria Kanellis, and she talks about that she has done a lot for this business, and she has sacrificed a lot for this business, but now she is trying to build an army to protect her kingdom, and of note, mentions Layla Hirsch, who wants something out of this, and Layla Hirsch interrupts Maria in saying, hey, I've been dominating, I want competition, I actually want the title, but we will backtrack it, and she's going to get severe competition tonight as she faces Rachel Ellering later on. Next matchup, we get a Proven Ground match of Athena versus Brittany J. Athena slams Brittany several times while on the outside, and then once back inside the ring, hits a pop-up powerbomb and a forearm to win the matchup. After the matchup, the Renegades attack Athena after the match, which also leads to Billy Starks coming out. 2 notes. Note 1, Caprice Coleman mentioned on commentary, Athena is the only person that has appeared on every episode of Ring of Honor since its return. These 25 episodes that I've been reviewing, Athena has either competed or just made an appearance on the show. So I'm going to give Athena props for that because I always praise Athena. I'll say she's the best thing going in Ring of Honor because she's the most consistent thing going on in Ring of Honor. Note 2. I had a big brain fart last week because I was very confused by the commentary team and everything that I could have said. I could have looked up in advance and not looked like an idiot, but I kind of looked like an idiot. So, long story short, the Renegade twins / sisters / the Renegades. I remember several weeks ago, Ian Riccaboni mentioned on commentary that, are they twins? Are they actually twins? And I was like, I would imagine they are. Just look at them. So, I didn't know. And like I said, they have 3 different names that they go by. The Renegade Twins, which they've always went by. Last week, they went by the Renegade Sisters, and then tonight, they referred to as the Renegades. So, long story short, last week, I made note, because it also is important tonight, because there's a match involving one of the Renegades tonight, that, are they twins and whatnot? And because every time, besides last week and tonight, they dressed exactly the same. Where last week, one of them had a short sleeve shirt on, the other one had a long sleeve shirt. The same thing happens tonight. So, long story short, they are twins. I don't know why Ian Riccaboni confused the hell out of me weeks ago, but they are in fact twins because I Googled it. And they have beef with Athena for some reason, but we'll get back to that later on because the big thing of the show happens right now. It's going to be the title of the video. Samoa Joe teaming with Stokely Hathaway. I almost call him Hathley. I don't think that's a word. Versus the Boys. This match was set up weeks ago because Dalton Castle is frustrated about not being in the TV title eliminator tournament. And somehow this is supposed to solve it, but I guess not. But Samoa Joe teams with the Rough Ryder of Ring of Honor. The Boys attack Joe before the match starts, and then Stokely is tagged in. And he hits an arm drag, but misses a stinger splash in the corner. Stokely then distracts the ref so Joe could tag back in, and he does his damage. And so Joe did all the work, and then Stokely healed up. He's like, tag me in, tag me in. And Joe wouldn't tag him in. He tried to set him up to go up the top rope. He had one of the boys positioned, and Stokely went up the top rope and missed because Samoa Joe locked the boy to a coquina clutch and won the matchup for his team. So Stokely Hathaway has a ring A win in Ring of Honor. Next matchup, Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels versus the Gates of Agony. And like I mentioned, there with the rumors of Christopher Daniels not being allowed on the Saturday show, it definitely was intensified because this matchup took place in Columbus, Ohio, where some of the other matches took place in South Carolina after Collision last week. This, I believe, was Dynamite last week. So again, I like to make note of that. What is Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels versus the Gates of Agony? Toa and Daniels start the match off, and we get quick tags by Sydal and Daniels. This gives them an advantage, but a clothesline while the referee is not looking to Daniels leads to the Gates of Agony having the advantage. Daniels hits an STO, which leads to him tagging out, and Sydal gets hit with a double clothesline, a very popular move nowadays, by the Gates of Agony, but Daniels breaks the pin up. Then he tags himself in and hits an Angel's wings, but the pin is broken up, and Khan lands double knees on Daniels to win the matchup for the Gates of Agony. Next matchup is Madison Rayne making her return versus Danny Moe. And Madison Rayne, I ain't gonna lie, I did not write much down for this match. The only thing I wrote down for this match is Madison Rayne gets beat up for the match, but wins with the Crossroads, which in Rockabani called the Cross Reign. I guess they just didn't want to mention Crossroads. I'm calling it the Crossroads. That's what the move is to me. The next matchup is the Dark Order versus Isaiah Broner, Lord Crove, and Corey Calhoun. Evil Uno and Isaiah Broner start the match off, but Broner gets smacked by Evil Uno and never really is able to recover from this, as the Dark Order triple team him for a great majority of this matchup until Stu Grayson comes out and causes a distraction, which leads to I'm trying to think which one. It was Corey Calhoun. Corey Calhoun tags in. He tried to roll up Alex Reynolds, but nothing else came of that. And the Dark Order kept the advantage, and they won the match with their flip powerbomb slam. I don't know what the hell the name of it is. The commentators never said the name of it is. The Google doesn't have a name for it, so that's why I call it that. Now, this is interesting. So, I'm breaking the fourth wall here. I say a lot of things. I film these several times because I stutter and sound like an idiot. So I never actually know which one of these make it out to the YouTube land. So I don't know if I've actually aired out this frustration or not. But the world champion of Ring of Honor very rarely shows up on Ring of Honor. That man being Claudio Castagnoli. And guess what? He showed up tonight, and he answered some of the questions, concerns, problems that I've been stating. And the first thing he was saying is, where is the world champion? Why is he never here? He says he is here, and that he watches. Which is kind of a contradiction because, we don't, the viewer, the people that are paying to see Honor Club aren't seeing you on the show. So, he had a 5-minute promo. A lot was said in this promo, but he said, long story short, he is here. He is here. And he has learned from losing and beating Chris Jericho that he has to be at the next level because he loves and cares about Ring of Honor, and that he has told a lot of people that, and some of those people are not on his level. The main people he mentions are that bastard Pac, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe, who 2 of which challenged him for the world title, 1 of which was supposed to, but was injured. And that he said that to be able to make it to that next level, he had to move on from what he loved, and what he loved is Ring of Honor. That he is on that next level, like I've said 3 times now, and not many people could wrestle a blood and guts match and then defend their title 48 hours later. But the long story short, he does not have a personal attachment to Ring of Honor or the World Championship because it is a job, and that anyone wants to take this championship from him, they can try. So I always say, hey, I understand why Claudio's not here. He has a lot of storylines going on in AEW. This is not the biggest concern. But it's just I love it for the world champion to be on the show, because all the other champions, Shibata is kind of the exception, but he's not really contracted by either Ring of Honor or AEW. I understand why he's not always there, but it's just I wish we had more consistency with the World Championship, but at least he addressed the issue going on. So we will see what happens next with Claudio. Maybe he has a match next week. Do I know something or do I not? Next matchup is Cole Carter versus Griff Garrison. Garrison has the advantage early on until Carter catches him in the corner. Garrison is able to hit a forearm, but gets raked in the eyes, and then Cole Carter hits 2 reverse body slams because the first one looked very rough and didn't hit all the way, so he had to hit a second one, and he won the matchup. After the match, Maria comes out, gets in the ring, and then leads Cole Carter to the back. It was very funny because on the match graphic, it said Cole Carter with Maria Kanellis. She did not show up till the match was over. Next matchup is Charlotte Renegade, someone I've been talking about already in this review, versus Billy Starks. Billy gets distracted by Robin Renegade, who was on the outside, which leads to Charlotte hitting a dive to the outside. Robin continuously distracts Billy throughout the match, and Charlotte hits a Michinoku driver for a 2 count. But Billy is able to win the match with a facebuster, but she did not get a chance to celebrate that. The moment the 3 count landed, Robin immediately jumps into the ring, and then Athena comes through the crowd to save Billy Starks, and then she teases attacking Billy Starks, I should say, but she doesn't. She leads Billy Starks off to the back. A little bit later on, we get a backstage interview with Athena's bestie, Lexi Nair, and Athena brings on Billy Starks and explaining that they're a duo now. They're not really a tag team, they're a duo. And Billy Starks is like, hey, we should face the Renegade Twins next week. But Athena's like, you shouldn't be saying that. You shouldn't be saying that. So that matchup might not happen. It was not confirmed or denied. It was only suggested. Now, we're on to page 3 of the notes on this show. A lot happened. This matchup, a 6-man tag. Lee Moriarty and the Workhorsemen versus Lee Johnson, Action Andretti, and Darius Martin. It's weird. I say it's weird a lot. The main reason I say that is because with it being weird, it could either be a good thing or a bad thing. It just depends on how you look at it. But Action Andretti and Darius Martin have been tag teaming in Ring of Honor on and off, but they are always paired with like a different trios partner. The main one I remember is AR Fox, who has moved on to the Mogul Embassy, so I don't imagine that trio will be coming back. But now they have replaced him with Lee Johnson. They already got a AEW trios title match that they lost, but now they have one on Ring of Honor, not a title match, but a trios match tonight on Ring of Honor. Also, Lee Moriarty, who had been teaming with Big Bill a lot on Ring of Honor. Big Bill, not a member of the Mogul Embassy, but teams with a member of the Mogul Embassy, Brian Cage, and Lee Moriarty kind of like, hey, where the hell's Big Bill? That, I just want to make note of that. But the funny thing is, to start this match off, was both Lees, Lee Johnson and Lee Moriarty, start this trios match off. What Johnson, Andretti, and Martin hitting triple team moves to their opponents. But soon, the Workhorsemen and Moriarty are able to keep Johnson on their side of the ring until he was able to get a tag to Andretti, and he was able to come back in the ring. And then the Workhorsemen hit a pop-up powerbomb onto Andretti, and then Andretti fumbles around and is able to get a roll-up on Anthony Henry to win the match. I was trying to think on which one it was. It was Anthony Henry. So Lee Johnson, Action Andretti, and Darius Martin win this matchup. The next matchup is Trish Adora versus Lady Frost. This is a back and forth bout, which got very interesting once Frost hit a cartwheel to the outside on Adora. Adora attempts to hit the Lariat Tubman, but Frost lands an Enziguri and a Frostbite off the top rope to win the matchup. After the matchup, we get a backstage interview with Kiera Hogan, who we didn't see her watching the match, but she comments on the match, and that she comments she wants a match with Lady Frost because the fire, referring to herself, melts the ice. And that's on period. Next matchup, Layla Hirsch versus Rachel Ellering, a matchup that we talked about earlier, but we're getting to talk about more now. Hirsch targets the left arm of Ellering, and then Ellering is able to get out of an armbar with an arm drag. It was a very weird sequence where I don't really know if it was an armbar, but it was definitely an arm drag. Ellering is able to hit a black hole slam, but the way that her pin was positioned is an easy setup for Layla Hirsch to hit or lock in, I should say, an armbar and win the matchup. Next matchup is Dalton Castle versus Pretty Peter Avalon. It's a very quick matchup that Castle dominated and won with a bangerang, and that he still very frustrated about not being in the TV title eliminator tournament. And there's a very funny moment where after the match, there's a sign in the crowd that's like, "We want Dalton Castle." So Castle's like looking at the guy, but he's like on the second row, and there's a guy in front of him that Castle, I guess that guy thought Castle was looking at him, and then Castle does look at him and rubs him in the face and does not really pay attention to the guy having the sign for Dalton Castle. We get a backstage interview with Shane Taylor. He has talked about how he was the most dominant TV and six-man champion in the previous era of Ring of Honor, but nobody ever really talked about it because they were always talking about the old guard. You mentioned CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, and obviously the man that he will eventually face for the TV title, Samoa Joe. But the thing is now he can face that old guard, and like I mentioned, he's going to face Samoa Joe at some point. They didn't announce when. But now, to quote Mark Henry, it is time for the main event. Tony Nese versus Metalik. Tony Nese was interviewed earlier, and he was mentioning that he really wants to do the group exercise and that he's trying to do it for the betterment of the fans. But we got no chance to do a group exercise tonight as Jerry Lynn comes out to set up this matchup. And to be fair, Nese dominated this matchup until he attempts the running Nese and gets caught with a super kick, and Metalik won the match with a Metalik driver to end this episode of Ring of Honor. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like I said, we got a lot done in this review. We talked about a lot in this review. So, will I be more consistent with making videos? Probably not, but you can only hope. So, I don't know when you'll see me again. Hopefully you do. Hopefully you're well and taken care of. If not, please take care of yourself. Please also like this video and subscribe. And I'll see you when I see you.